Alright guys, it is time for the long-awaited Dallin and Ashley Q&A. We're gonna do a relationship Q&A. We have hundreds of questions.
You guys have asked us to do this for quite a while now, so we put out a poll on Instagram and we got like hundreds of questions from you guys. We are excited to go through as many of these as we can. We said that we would do the ones that made us uncomfortable and we didn't want to answer, so we're gonna do a brutally honest, open relationship Q&A about Dallin and Ashley.
Here we go.
Let's go. All right, Ash, we got a doozy for number one. You ready? Without talking to each other, write down how many kids you both want and then show it.
Would we just use our hands or just show it with your hand?
Oh, okay, we can do that.
Unless it's two hands. It's
not.
Okay, good.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Ooh, yes. You didn't think I was gonna keep it at 2?
Yeah.
It's we're definitely not ready right now for number 3. But I think we both feel that there's a third one coming eventually. Not anytime soon.
I want it to be in like 3 years.
All right, are you guys always happy or is it just that for the vlogs? Do you ever get upset with each other?
All I know is we fought every day, like the week of Christmas, we fought every day except Christmas. So we also didn't vlog. Yeah, so obviously for the vlogs, we only pick up the camera when we're like feeling like picking up the camera, and that's usually when we're happy and things are going good. You know, the kids are peppy and freshly napped or something like that, and when things are going crazy or we're like fighting or the kids really need our attention, the camera's usually down. So that may give you a warped vision, but we're just like every other couple and we have disagreements just like everybody else, and we get in arguments, and we're learning how we're actually going to marriage therapy now to learn how to handle arguments better, because we just feel like we could be better at it than we currently are. So we started going to therapy. So that was another question. Why did you guys start going to marriage therapy, and does it actually help your marriage? TBD if it actually helps. We started going to therapy. So last year Dallin quit his job outside of like the vlog and the website and the podcast. And he came home and started working for us full time. He started working for me full time. Right. That's what we like to say. That's the truth. And we just weren't very good at working together. It takes a whole new deep level of communication and trust and openness, and still taking care of your own needs, making time for yourself and organizing a schedule, working together and living together, running a house together and a business together full time. And that has been a little difficult, to say the least. It wasn't like a life we ever imagined or a job we ever imagined to do what we're doing. So I never had like mentally prepared. I always thought I would be like a mom. And I would kind of take a break from working when my kids were little, and then maybe I would go back or start like a second career doing something else. But it all has been very different from what we thought. So we've kind of had to learn to adjust to being together as often as we are in like a business partner capacity. We were really good at like the like fun friend capacity, like the outside of work kind of relationship. Maybe we could talk about that a little bit later, things that we're learning in therapy. So many questions about how to handle disagreements. And so it kind of brought me peace, but also sadness. Like, I feel for you guys, I understand what it's like to go through disagreements with your significant other, because we have them just like you, and we're learning how to actually deal with that. So, I mean, go listen to our podcast, Taking Sides, the marriage podcast, if you want to hear just all of our relationship advice and things we're learning in therapy and answering your questions, because that's what the podcast is. Taking Sides, where you guys send in your questions through email, takingsideswiththedashleys@gmail.com, and we read your question on the podcast and like give our 2 cents about it and hopefully answer your question. We just basically give you our thoughts on how we would handle it. And it's a really fun podcast. You should go definitely check it out if you're interested in learning more about what's in our brains and how to handle disagreements and things like that. Anyways, next question. How did you meet? So Dallin and I worked, I guess what I would compare it to, probably the more popular thing is like a vacation Bible school or like a church summer camp. Yeah, we were co-counselors for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's called EFY, or especially for youth. And we were counselors there over different groups of youth all summer, and we traveled around the whole country together. And we were eventually co-counselors, meaning it's usually like a guy and a girl over a group of kids. And we were co-counselors one week, and we just really got to know each other really good there.
we would do like fun. We had so much fun, like just like singing songs with our kids or coming up with like hilarious skits. And Ashley's so funny and creative, and I just like recognize that about her right away.
And I cheat.
And she cheats on skits.
And I win everything.
Yeah, she does.
And that's why it's fun. It's not fun if you lose.
It's better to be honest.
Just doesn't, something like little things, it doesn't matter.
We had a lot of fun.
This is why we don't play games with each other.
Yeah, Ashley just cheats and makes it no fun. Okay, what's next? Oh, so Dallin, how did you know you wanted to marry Ashley? So it was just, man, my heart didn't break. There was another girl in the picture, and I eventually, like, I was like dating, and I eventually decided that I thought I wanted to continue dating the other girl, so I actually broke things off with Ashley, and I literally could not stop thinking about her every single day. And Ashley was like the first big thing that I did to follow my heart, like my Dallin heart, what I actually wanted. And I just knew after like a few months of being away from her that like, this is my like soulmate. Like I freaking love that girl, and I love who she is, and I just love how relaxed I am around her, and I miss her so much. And so luckily she took me back. I just knew that my heart wanted her. How do you handle serious fights between you two?
Well, we obviously don't, because we're in therapy.
Here's how it goes. I attack Ashley's character and who she is as a person, and then she gets really defensive, and then we don't talk for 2 days. That's all that we do.
I don't think it's 2 days. Usually I stop talking because I'm so like, and then Dallin will have to like come and like sit on me or something to get me to say things to him.
Yeah. Okay, this is a fun one, Ash. Describe your perfect date night with no budget. One night.
A night?
Yeah.
I hate nighttime. I like to sleep at night, so my perfect
I mean,
date
an evening. An evening. Okay, that's what I meant.
The day.
Oh, okay, that works. Your perfect date. Let's just leave it at date.
So, I mean, it would probably change from like month to month. Currently, in the like terrible winter that we're living in right now, I would sleep in, and then I would wake up and get ready slowly, eat a nice breakfast, go out to breakfast. I would go out for brunch.
I like that idea.
And then I really like plants, and so we would go buy some new like
this is good for me to hear.
For the garden, for my garden, and you wouldn't get like bored or feel rushed. And then we would go for like a walk in the mountains on a warm day. And
so this is summer.
Yeah, and the dogs would come with us, and there would be, the only people around would be people who actually like dogs, so no one would yell at us for having them off leash. And I don't know, we would come home and just drink hot chocolate. And
would we be going out for an activity or eating dinner or anything, or would we do it at home?
Come home, order food from Uber Eats.
Okay. From
like 4 different restaurants, and watch a show.
Okay, mine would be we rent a Tesla because there's no budget, right? So we get a Tesla for our date, and then we dress up, we go to Salt Lake. We probably go to Takashi or Red Iguana.
You would go shopping for new clothes to dress
up. That's what I was gonna say, but I didn't say it. That's good.
You like Dallin likes buying things.
All right, so the question was no budget.
No, I know.
Okay, so we would rent a Tesla somehow. I don't know how, but we would have a Tesla P100D, and then we would go to City Creek and we would go to J. Crew and get new clothes for our date. And then,
or any other store, like that fancy shoe store there.
Or Macy's. It's like an oddly fancy Macy's at the City Creek in Salt Lake. And then we would probably go to Takashi or Ruth's Chris or Red Iguana. Love Red Iguana. The place is so good, Salt Lake. And then we would ride the electric scooters. Ashley doesn't like them.
Dallin rides like a bat out of hell.
They're like, so fun.
He doesn't even look when he crosses the road, and I have to follow him or be left alone in Salt Lake City.
I look.
In an alley.
And then we go somewhere for dessert, and then we go to do some activity in Salt Lake, like country dancing. We love country dancing. Or, I don't know. But then we would stay the night at the top floor of Grand America.
Or the Anniversary Inn.
Is that in Salt Lake? I thought that was in Ogden.
I think there's one in Salt Lake too, really? And they have
a themed room, like a Christmas room. There's like a Santa staring at you in bed. No, it would be Grand America, definitely. All right, next question. Okay, how do you handle disagreements in how to parent/discipline your kids? So
it's hard.
I don't think you can really like handle it unless you like come to some crazy compromise. Or the only other way to handle it is like to come on the same page and like study effective parenting techniques and books, or go to a seminar together, and then actually be on the same page so that there are no more disagreements.
So I would say when we first had kids, it was kind of like my job to figure out what our parenting style was going to be, or I was the one with the bigger opinion, and you were kind of like, whatever, like we'll just do what you want to do.
Yeah, that's true.
And that worked until like our kids started being like, until George stopped being a baby and started being a toddler, and like I was
so many expectations
to a parenting style, but Dallin was like just kind of doing what, like I was like his parenting coach, and it was hard to be on the same page when I was the one who was convicted to a parenting style, and he was just like, I have to do it because Ashley says that we're doing it this way.
I just feel like I've learned so much about like what actual good parenting is, and versus like just trying to control your kid.
Right.
You know?
And I think things started getting hard because George was having moments that needed to be like parented, addressed. Like we needed to be on some sort of page with how we were going to handle those moments, and that's kind of when like you kind of started kicking into gear, and now you've probably read more parenting books than me at this point.
Yeah, so if you're looking for resources, the book that I would recommend you read first is Screen Free Parenting by Hal Runkle. Man, that book is so good, because parenting skills are like life skills. I've learned so much about managing my own emotions.
That's the funny thing about parenting books. You get like 6 chapters in, and it's just
like,
talking
this
about
is so
like,
good.
Your feelings about your past
and your ego, and your trigger points, and you're like wait, is this like, yeah, I guess this is good.
Tantrums.
And then also following Ralphie on Instagram at Simply On Purpose. Man, she's a rock star.
Super good.
So good. And you can go to Simply On Purpose conference. That's what she does them all over the country. And she just came out with an audio course, which we are listening to right now, currently in the middle of it. And it's just gold. Like, so good.
I really like Busy Toddler. She's on Instagram too. She says all the time she has a 2-year-old. He just turned 3, but she always hashtags being 2 is fine. And now she hashtags being 3 is fine.
Yeah.
Just like a reminder, like they're not grown-ups yet.
And so far it seems like it's going great. Our kids love us.
20% of the time.
20% of the time, every time. All right, Ash, last question. What do you like most about the other person? I'll go first. Ashley is like she's like an angel in our house. She is so like giving of herself to our kids. She is such a good mom. Like, they are so lucky to have her. And she like cares about my happiness, and like is seriously being very proactive about like making sure that I have like the time that I need to take care of my own happiness. And I really appreciate that about her.
My favorite thing about Dallin, so I always say I fell in love with him at first sight, but it was more I fell in love with Dallin at first like feel. Like I felt something when he walked into the car that I was sitting in, and I always feel that when I'm with him. And I think it's just a feeling of belonging. I was always a very shy person, and I didn't have like a ton of friends. And I just always like wanted to be noticed. And I love so much that he notices me, and that like in a room of strangers, like I belong with him. I feel like when I look at you, I'm looking like at your soul. So I wouldn't care what you ever looked like or anything.
That's good to know.
Because my soul belongs with your soul.
Well, thanks, Boo. Cool. Well, thanks, guys. This is fun sitting down answering some of your questions for a while. If you want to listen to more relationship type things, we have a whole podcast. There's our personal podcast called Big Little Life with the Dashleys, Dallin and Ashley. And it's basically like, it's our personal journal is the category it's in the podcast land. And we talk about whatever we want to, just about what's going on in our life. We play games every once in a while. We have one coming out where we did some Mad Libs with each other. We do like funny news or inspirational news, and just like tell stories about our life and what's going on. And it's kind of like the vlog, but just a lot more broken down and relaxed and long form. They're each like 30, 40 minutes, sometimes like an hour. And we try to have really interesting or fun guests or friends that we like to have on the podcast too every once in a while, and just have really fun conversations. And then the other podcast is called Taking Sides, the Marriage Podcast, where we answer your questions. You guys email us questions, takingsideswiththedashleys@gmail.com, about relationships, about marriage, like roommates, about like family members, and just relationships in general. And we take sides, or basically just give our 2 cents on the matter, what we think about it. And we're having a lot of fun with both podcasts. So go and listen to the podcast, whether you listen to podcasts already or you're new to it. Everybody has a podcast app on their phone. For iPhones, it's just Apple Podcasts, and for Android phones, it's Google Podcasts. There's other third-party apps like Breaker, Stitcher, Spotify, and Anchor. So many ways to listen to podcasts. It's just audio only. It's like our own radio show. So go check out the podcast, and thanks for joining us in this vlog. See you guys.